concept is the principle of adaptation. We tend to adapt much more than we think to positive and negative circumstances in our lives. We do not realize that if we have an accident and we are injured so that we cannot walk anymore, a year after the accident we will probably adapt to the new circumstance and will not be less happy than a person who is able to walk. But we think we won't be adapted. We are not good predictors of these type of things. In the same way, we do not realize that a year after we have obtained many of the things we want, we will adapt to them and no longer perceive them as good. According to scientific research, this happens with couples, money, moving to a country with better climate, and many other things. But it is in our power the ability to inhibit and slow the process of adaptation. For example, if someone moves to a city with better climate, you can avoid the habituation thinking or saying every morning something like, "What a beautiful day," or remembering how much you suffered with cold climate. We can prevent the adaptation process in a couple expressing appreciation, affection and gratitude every day. I'm proud of what you did in a couple. Talking when you don't feel stress. Creating a routine like walking together or drinking in the kitchen. Creating a ritual to spend several hours together once a week. Having a part time in the house where you can talk without electric devices. A place designed to hold a conversation with low stress. These routines can be applied to the couple or to other close relationships so that you don't adapt to those relationships in the bad sense. Expressing gratitude in a way is a way to avoid the principle of adaptation. You can remember small things, the sunlight entering the bedroom, the word of a friend, something we cook, an article we read. Perhaps we think that we will feel stupid doing this, but it will allow us to discover many things about everyday life. In experimental studies, they found that it was very effective to do it 3 times a week, not more, probably because if we do it every day, we will get used to this practice. Another possibility is to tell somebody you trust what good things have happened to you. Our political and economical system encourages us to raise expectations and the desire of consumption. This is the most direct shortcut to dissatisfaction and the opposite of gratitude. With such high expectations, there is no room for surprise. Gratitude, however, allows us to recover our sense of wonder. Robert Emmons, the world's leading scientific expert on gratitude, studied more than 1,000 people from 8 to 80 years old and found that people who practice gratitude consistently report a host of benefits. Physical benefits, stronger immune systems, lower blood pressure, they sleep longer and feel more refreshed when they wake up. Psychological benefits, they have higher levels of positive emotions. Social benefits, they are more helpful, more generous and compassionate, they are more forgiving, they feel less lonely and isolated. The social benefits are especially significant here because gratitude is a social emotion. It requires us to see how we've been supported and affirmed by other people. Gratitude has 2 parts. 1, we affirm that there are good things in the world, gifts and benefits we've received. 2nd, we recognize the sources of this goodness as being outside ourselves. Gratitude allows us to make the present last more. Our emotional systems like change. We adapt to positive life circumstances, and soon the new car, the new wife, and the new house don't feel so good and exciting anymore. When things are going bad, we often compare the current state to the ideal. But when they improve, we forget to compare the present goods with the past goods. Gratitude allows you to recover balance. Gratitude blocks toxic negative emotions such as envy, resentment, regret, emotions that can destroy our happiness. You cannot feel envious and grateful at the same time. They are incompatible feelings. There's even recent evidence, including a 2008 study by psychologist Alex Wood in the Journal of Research in Personality, showing that gratitude can reduce the frequency and duration of episodes of depression. So if we have to work with a consultant that is depressed, suggesting him to write a gratitude journal may be a good idea. And it is a good idea for all of us, a way to live again good things that have happened to us. Questions about?
I have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but some objection of not what you said now, but when you presented this point, you said that people adapt, that the person who had an accident and lost the use of the legs 1 year after that won't be less happy than the person who walks. I know a few people that happens to them. My mother, without an accident, someone who came to give a talk at my university who had an accident at the age of 19. And other people, because you know in Israel there's a lot of people who don't, and this is not the way they feel. My mother said to me, you know, she feels that all the time that she cannot walk. You don't adapt to that. And that other person who became an Olympic winner several times, she's an Olympic winner at the age of 19 because she says, if I'm not an Olympic winner, I don't want to live as a cripple. I don't know if this is true, that 1 year after that they are no less happy than people that walk.
Well, it's very interesting what you say here, because it's a very common objection that this type of ideas receive. Scientific evidence is useful because it allows us to have a more objective way of seeing things. The studies of the principle of adaptation have been done by many researchers in many parts of the world. So we are not talking about cultural assumptions, although they may be different, but about some special type of stoic resources that we have, although we don't know we have them. It has a good part. We adapt ourselves to things that are not good, and it has a bad part. We adapt ourselves to good things that we don't perceive them anymore. When you do research in this level, and I can give you the studies so that you can consult, you don't just look for what it is called anecdotal evidence. If I am speaking about my mother, my friends, my cousin, I am just taking some cases.
I know
that. Sorry, I wanted to finish. And that doesn't have a scientific value. Your mother could be the exception, your friend could be the exception. What I am saying is that for most people think that if they get blind, that if they won't be able to walk, they will be unhappy the rest of their lives. And why doesn't this happen for most people? I am not saying that for all people. Maybe for your mother, it's not like that. For your cousin or your neighbor, it's not like that. Because when you wake up each morning, most people don't think, oh, I cannot walk, I cannot see. You have another problem because you get used to it. They are not as happy as people who walk. They're a little bit less,
okay.
But that's not significant.
Okay, I'm familiar with the concept of scientific evidence. I know what it is. This is why I said shorter there, because of course I know what it is. I just said that only if you can give me the reference for that. Because you said they are no less happy than people who walk. I know that they adapt. I know that they can be happy. I just wonder if it is as accurate as that they are no less happy than
Just
being
a
wrong.
little bit less happy.
Okay, so this is a difference.
Because
from what
happiness
you
has
said.
to do with other things mainly, and that doesn't come from philosophy. It comes from scientific research. We know nowadays that happiness doesn't have to do mainly with circumstances. Circumstances have to do with if you're in a couple or not, if you live in one country or in another. It has to do partly with biological questions. They don't determine us, but they influence us, and partly they have to do in a 50% with the way you see the world. That's a philosophical part, and 10% have to do with circumstances. You can 10% have to do with circumstances. You can see Sonia Liormisky's book are the books that I think that are more useful for philosophical counseling. They all come from researchers that work with philosophical problems, and I think they are very useful, very nice to read, especially Dan Arelis. He has 3 books.